Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to discuss some tips and tricks that you can implement in your account to make the most out of Q4 in terms of revenue growth as well as profit. I'll go through a checklist of different things that I want you guys to look at and to fix before the major sales seasons in Q4, like, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the Christmas period, so that you guys can make the most out of this period. Let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing I want you to focus on is cutting wasted ad spend. So you guys are going to have a bunch of things in your account that are wasting small amounts of spend every single day or every single week that you guys aren't paying attention to. But since Q4 is a high search volume period, a lot of these things that are wasting a couple dollars a week might end up wasting like 2, 3, 4 times that. And if you multiply that across a large number of search terms, or a large number of keywords, that can end up being a lot of money. So there are a few things I want you to do to prevent this. The first one is negating bad search terms immediately. So I need you guys to go through your search term reports. Ideally, if you have multiple months of data because you've been saving your previous search term reports, or you have some type of software that stores them for you, you can look at a few months of data, figure out anything that's spending or getting clicks and not selling, and go in and negate it immediately, because a lot of these search terms might barely be spending anything noticeable today, but in a few weeks time or a few months time, depending on when you're watching this video, their spend might go up 2 or 3x. Which means they're going to cost you a lot of money, potentially hundreds or thousands, depending on how many bad search terms you have. So you want to negate those as soon as possible to prevent that from happening. The second thing is you want to go to keywords that have very high bids, but weren't spending, or maybe we're spending at a CPC much lower than their bid. So for example, you might have a keyword where you're bidding $3, but you're actually spending at $1.50 CPC, and you want to go in there and you want to lower the bids, because maybe that bid is too high to actually go into effect today. But with Q4 and with everyone else bidding up, you might soon find that the CPC actually becomes $3 and you're spending hundreds or thousands on this keyword and you have no idea why, because you didn't prepare for it in advance. So you want to go into the targeting tab, sort by bids highest to lowest, and make sure there's nothing that doesn't make sense in there so that you prevent any potential losses from happening. Along those same lines, you also want to check your keywords. So you might have keywords that are wasting a few dollars a week of spend, but they're still active and they're still running. You just want to go in and you want to check lifetime data on those keywords through the targeting tab. You just want to pause anything that's not working, because again, those can end up spending a lot more than usual during Q4. You don't want to get caught in that trap. So make sure those are paused from now so you don't waste your money on them. Finally, you also want to check your variations and advertised products. You might have certain variations that are just not working at all in terms of sales and spend. So you want to make sure those are paused. And if you have products that you've been advertising and aren't doing well, you can also pause those unless they're strategic for your business or they're new launches that you guys want to invest money in. Other than that, you want to make sure anything that's a current loss maker or a current spend waster is paused or gotten rid of or negated before the major sales periods of Q4 come in, so that you guys aren't wasting massive amounts of money when the search volumes and the bids and cost per clicks go up. So the second thing you want to make sure of is that all of your catalog issues are fixed. So if you have images or titles or bullet points or A+ content that's not properly reflecting, you want to fix that. If you have variations that aren't merged properly, or maybe your parent listing for your main product was split up into multiple different parent listings, and all of your child listings or your previous child listings are now separate, and I don't have as many reviews anymore, you need to get that fixed. If you have search suppressions, you need, again, to get that fixed. So you want to round up all of your catalog issues, make sure everything is fixed within the next few weeks so you guys can make the most out of Q4. We have some clients at AI Hello, because we're technically an Amazon full service agency as well as a software provider. So on our full service side of the business, we've been able to help some clients increase sales like 20-30% just by solving their catalog issues. So merging the appropriate products, making sure nothing's search suppressed, making sure everything's up and running and represented properly, making sure the images are presented properly, the titles are presented properly, and so on. So you guys really need to pay attention to this, because it can cost you a lot of sales, either through your products being suppressed or your parent listings being broken up, or maybe some of the products just being taken entirely off of Amazon if you don't sort out these issues soon enough. So you want to make sure everything's up and running properly before you get into the heavy sales periods of Q4. The third thing you're going to want to do in preparation is actually split test main images. So main images can actually increase your sales. I have a client that we were working with recently where they came in with like a 0.5% click-through rate, and we were able to do a couple main image changes. We added some extra effects, some extra things in their main image to take up more white space and just make the product look more appealing. And we were able to go from a 0.5% click-through rate to a 0.73% click-through rate, which obviously had a pretty massive effect on sales. So you guys can probably achieve similar results on some of the products in your catalog. Definitely not all of them, but some of them can definitely see a huge rise in traffic and in sales if you improve the main image. So you guys want to do this and split test it in advance of the major sales period, so that when the major sales period rolls in, you guys are already ready with a main image that will perform best for your product. So you can just do this with Amazon experiments, right? And you can see what happens. Or you can also do it on different platforms like Pickfu, where you can upload a bunch of main images and real customers have to choose which ones look most appealing to them, right? But you guys want to get this done now and not while the actual sales event is happening for obvious reasons. The fourth thing you want to do is actually rank on your main keywords organically beforehand. So as we discussed earlier, search volumes go up a ton during these big sales periods like Christmas, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and so on. So you want to be ranked organically during these periods to make the most money out of it, right? Because you can get a ton of organic sales, which is something you're going to need, especially if you're running discounts to be profitable. So you want to make sure everything is ranked on, or anything that can be ranked on at least is ranked on beforehand. So you guys might, learn to live with a higher tackles for a few weeks or a few months before these sales periods. Invest more into your main keywords. Look at keywords where you guys are almost ranked, so you're like number 10, but you could realistically be number 5 or number 6 or number 4. Invest more money there. Or keywords where you're converting higher than average based on data from the search query performance report. And again, invest more money there. You just want to push on the gas pedal super hard before Q4, so that when Black Friday comes, when Christmas comes, and so on, you guys are ranked number 5 or number 4 or number 3 or even number 1 if you're lucky on your main keywords, right? And if you don't do this and you're underinvested for the first few months before the major sales periods, your guys' products are going to be like at page 3 or 4, right? And no one's going to see them. And the only sales you're going to get in Q4 are going to be like heavily discounted, heavily advertised sales that are definitely running at a negative margin. So to avoid that, you guys want to invest in those keywords and rank beforehand, so that when the actual period comes and you guys are, set up to do well, you're going to have a lot of sales come in without ads, and you guys should hopefully be super profitable because of that. The fifth thing you want to do is a quick sanity check on all of your budgets. So you have multiple levels of budgets. You have portfolio level budgets, you have account level budgets, and campaign level budgets. Maybe you have other levels and external software tools that you're using, but for Amazon, it's these 3 major ones. You want to make sure that those budgets are adjusted to allow you to spend more and spend sufficiently during Q4, right? And if you have events that are close to each other, like Black Friday and Cyber Monday aren't far apart, you want to make sure that whatever budget you have on is going to be enough for those 2 events, right, to take place. So for example, like if you have a 1 month budget that's supposed to cover 2 sales periods, so if it's like end of November and the first like 2/3 of December because of the Christmas run up, like you're going to want to make sure that that's sufficient to cover that, right? So you're going to want to add more budget. If you have an account level budget, it's like $50 a day, obviously the sales days are going to be a lot higher than that. You need to make sure that it's high enough before that. Like you can have your budget go up like 3-4x, or your spend, I should say, go up 3-4x, 5x, 6x even during these periods based on the product category that you're in, right? So you want to make sure that those budgets that you have in place on Amazon or on external software tools are at the right levels to allow for that. So you guys might get caught in a situation where you're doing very well, you're converting very well, your traffic's up and so on, but your daily budget was like $50. Now your campaigns are all capped off and you're not selling anything extra on Black Friday. So you miss out on the entire day, and you guys could potentially be down for the rest of the month too because of the post sales period stop. So it's something that you want to keep in mind, and you want to make sure that everything is at a level where you can continue to spend and continue to sell throughout the entire day, whether it's campaign, account, or portfolio level. Along those same lines, you want to make sure that the majority of your budget is being directed toward the good products. So if you, again, have stuff that's not doing well, you should have already paused those in step number 1. But beyond that, you want to make sure that the good products have the most budget. So even if you are going to increase the account level budget to 4x of what it is, you want to make sure that, a good chunk of that is going to your best products, because you could end up spending that extra money on a product that's not doing well at all, but you're maybe advertising on a very broad keyword for it, like Christmas gifts, for example. So it ends up eating into your spend. As a side note, like most of you shouldn't be advertising on those big keywords like Christmas gifts or, gift ideas, Black Friday, or whatever else it might be, because those tend to not work very well for most accounts, right? So you want to make sure the best keywords and the best products are going to get the best budgets in terms of size. And you want to set up your account that way, whether it's through a software tool or just adding like different portfolio level budgets or campaign level budgets to make sure that this happens. The sixth thing you're going to want to look at is inventory management. So this should have ideally been solved like a month plus ago, but you guys need to calculate how much you're going to do in revenue during Q4 and be optimistic. Like, you want to send in more inventory than you need. So calculate how much inventory you're going to need for Q4 based on maybe last year's figures. So if you have an estimate for how much sales go up during this period, you can use that as a multiplier. Again, be a bit optimistic. It's better to have more inventory than less inventory. Obviously, to a limit. Like, if you have 20-30% more inventory than you need, it's obviously better than being 20-30% short of what you need. So again, if you're out of stock, you're not selling, so your revenue is automatically zero, at least on that product. And beyond that, you're going to deal with some repercussions with Amazon, because Amazon doesn't like it when you go out of stock. So always stay in stock in general, and definitely stay in stock in Q4, because a good chunk of your annual sales, especially in certain categories that you guys might be in, are going to happen during this period, right? So if you're not doing well during this period, you're going to miss out on more than a quarter of your year. So you want to make sure everything is stocked, especially those main products, so that you make the most out of Q4 and that you don't get penalized by Amazon later down the line and have to invest a bunch of money to get those products running again. The seventh thing that you can do is run retargeting, which is actually very interesting to do in Q4, because you have two opportunities for retargeting with Q4. One is just retarget everyone that looked at your product and didn't buy before Q4, maybe purchased from you before Q4, and target them once you're in the actual sales period. So once you have the discounts running, or once you're in the pre-Christmas run-up, and these guys are in a pinch and they need to buy a gift for their wife or for their kids, right? So these guys did consider your product before, likely were at a stage where they were almost going to buy it, but they just didn't for some reason. And maybe now it's Black Friday and you guys are 25% off. And that's enough for them to pull the trigger. Or they're in a pinch and they need a last minute Christmas gift. They're considering your stuff for a few months, so they're familiar with what you're selling. And now they're in a pinch and they need to buy what you're selling, right? So it's very interesting because you can retarget all of those people and convert a lot of them now that they need to buy, or they're more willing to buy after the discount. And then post each sales period, you can target them again, because maybe they didn't buy in that sales period, but they figured out hey, I actually wanted what this guy had as a seller. I wanted what the seller had to offer, and I'm willing to buy it now, even though it's no longer Christmas, for example. Or maybe they didn't buy it in Black Friday, but now they want to buy it in Christmas. So it's pretty interesting. Or you can also retarget previous customers who bought something from you that's replenishable and maybe didn't buy again. You can retarget those and have them buy from you now. Or people who bought one product and you just try to cross-sell them another product that maybe is related in some way to the first thing that they bought. So this is a pretty interesting strategy that I've seen work for many accounts, and it's probably something that you guys should try with either sponsored display or DSP. The eighth and final tip is to actually get coverage on all the match types and ad types and targeting types, obviously, before the major sales periods of Q4 happen. So it's very expensive to test during Q4. You don't want to run testing campaigns on Black Friday to discover whether sponsored brands works for you or not. You want to do that today, right? You still have a few weeks left. So you want to do this today. Figure out which ad types work the best, figure out what match types work the best, and try to get full coverage. So if you figure out everything's working to a certain degree, try to do product targets, auto targets, manual targets, keywords in broad, phrase, and exact, sponsored brand, sponsored display, sponsored product, DSP if you're on that. So you want to try to get as much coverage as possible. Test everything beforehand. You don't want to test in Christmas where bids are 50% higher and search volumes are super high and everything's super expensive. You want to know beforehand what works and what doesn't, and to try to get as much coverage as possible, that when the big day comes, you have as many eyeballs as you possibly can, and that reflects into more sales, more profits, and just better velocity during these periods. This is something that you want to start doing today, ideally, but you should have been doing for several months before Q4, or even every single day, honestly, that you're working on your account. You should be trying to figure this out, right? So if you figured this out, great. Allocate budgets and invest it toward the right things. If you haven't started today, figure out what's working within those next few weeks, and then try to get as much coverage as possible on the things that are working, with either more targets, more match types, and so on, and just go in super strong into Q4 and make as many sales as possible. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. A small piece of advice would be that if there's data from last year, obviously use that. So if you know what products work well from last year, focus on advertising those products. If you know what the unit sales lift looks like in those periods, use that to forecast inventory. If you have data on what ads work and what don't from last year, use that again. So if you guys have been running your business for multiple years, you probably have a lot of data in there that you should be using. And definitely go off of that data for the most part, because it's probably going to play out in a similar way this year. Right? So that's the main piece of advice that I have. Always look at the numbers you already have and try to predict the future based on what's already happened. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed and found this useful. If you need our help running your ads, managing your catalog, managing your listing content for you, or even just using our software, please reach out at www.aihello.com and book a call with someone from my team. I might even show up myself, and we can discuss your ads and give you guys actionable strategies. Thank you again for watching this video, and have a great rest of your day. See you.